Hello everyone and welcome back to round number 5 of my return to classical chess in my county chess championship of 2025. I'm currently in first place as of round 5 by half a point, so winning this game would put me in really good stead for the final round where a draw would secure the victory. But this round was far from easy. I was facing a very strong opponent, CM level over 2200, and I was definitely in for a tough game. And in fact, yes, you read the title right, this game is going to be all about defending the most horrible and depressing position you've ever seen, and I'm going to show you how you can keep fighting and trying to find life even in the most torturous of positions. So my opponent starts with pawn to e4, and I play pawn to c5. This is the Sicilian. He plays knight f3, I go knight c6, and he plays the Rossolimo. The Rossolimo really annoys me, and I spoke to my opponent after the game, and he said the Rossolimo almost made him quit the Sicilian completely, and he just switched to the French, which is a little bit radical for my taste, but to each their own, and I definitely agree that this Rossolimo bishop b5 is extremely annoying, because after knight f6, he simply takes on c6, and now my pawn structure is ruined. But while I do have the bishop pair advantage, my opponent's able to put most of their pawns on the light squares, which kind of counteracts their lack of a light square bishop, and also blocks up my light square bishop over here. So I develop my bishop to g4, giving them a pin on the knight. He provokes me with h3, and I decide to capture on f3. Already at this point, when he recaptures, I think the position is getting kind of drawish, because I play g6, he goes knight d2, and I play bishop g7. My bishop is now eyeing this pawn. You know, it seems like fairly equalish position, although at the same time black does have a small disadvantage due to this c5 pawn. So he castles, I castle, he plays a4 because he wants to play knight c4, but if he played knight c4 on this move, then I would potentially just have b5, and after knight d2, I can play knight d7, go knight b6, try and break with c4, and black should be doing absolutely fine with this strong bishop on g7. So he plays a4, I play a5, because if I play my knight d7 idea now, he'll probably just go a5 himself, and then I don't have this knight b6, b5, c4 plan, which I quite liked the look of anymore, because his a5 pawn is just restricting me. So I play a5, this is very standard. Now black has kind of locked up this side of the board, but still wants to continue with knight d7, b5, knight b6, and c4. This is generally how black could try to fight back. He plays knight c4, I go knight d7. Now there's additional ideas like knight e5, threatening a fork on the queen and the knight. Of course, doesn't win material, but it would force off an exchange, and my dark square bishop is quite good. In this position is a bit of a tabia, which means that there's like a couple good moves for white here. And he decides to go for bishop d2. One of the moves that I was expecting, but I thought it led to mass liquidation, was bishop to e3, where I would then play knight to e5, and after knight takes on e5 takes, bishop takes here, rook here. I can play bishop d4, one of the only moves, and then after this exchange here, the rook takes, the queen takes, the rook takes, my queen takes on c2. And I wasn't 100% sure how to evaluate this position. I thought only black could really be better here with the outside passed a-pawn, and black has decent chances, although Engine spits in my face and says 0-0-0, sir, go home, make a draw, good day. But I don't think it's so clear, and he obviously didn't like it that much either, because he settled on the more calm bishop d2. And bishop d2 does have a concrete threat here, by the way, because the logical looking b5 to try and kick the pony out just leads to captures, and then a free pawn on a5. But, sorry, not a concrete threat, but rather stops my idea straight up with b5. So he prevents b5. I decide to play knight e5, forcing off the exchange of pieces here. You cannot just move the queen, because that would lose the game, as there is a pin here on the bishop. I guess you could play this, but why would you voluntarily lose all your pawns like this? That doesn't seem like a good idea. So he decides to capture, I capture, he plays bishop h6, and here's where I think I start to go quite wrong with the move bishop g7. If I play rook e8, I think I have a much more pleasant position, because my bishop is still pressuring this pawn, and if he ever plays c3, then the d3 pawn becomes a big weakness. So he might have to play his rook over here, in which case I can break with b5, and on b3 I can go takes, and queen d4, pressuring this pawn on the side of the board. c4 is a threat, And this is simply a much more dynamic way that I could have played the game, and definitely much more my style than what I ended up with in the game. So this is 100% what I should have gone for. Instead, I got this trade here on g7 and a heavy piece endgame, which I'm not a big fan of, looking at how the game developed. He played queen e2, nice solid move, preparing f4, just, cementing his position. I play e5, preventing f4 now via some tactics as well, because there's also queen here, which would pick up a pawn, and I could take over here first. So he plays b3 first. He's really just playing it slow here. Brings in the rook, king goes to h1, he can play g3, he can play f4, he has the one pawn break in the position, which is pawn to f4. I have none pawn breaks in the position. My b5 pawn break is simply suicidal, and it doesn't really lead anywhere with any capture here. My a5 pawn becomes a chronic weakness, and I have no real hopes of executing c4 either, with his queen always pressuring that square and the two pawns over here and here. But even then, maybe I should have tried to play for this b5 and c4 move. But I went queen d7. My idea's a bit of a slow move, and the point is that if he ever wants to break with g3 and f4, I'll be pressuring the h3 pawn. That was kind of my point here. He played king h1, and I decided to play g5 now, stopping an immediate f4 move. By the way, you couldn't play f4 in this move here, because I would just capture it here and then play queen d4 and win his rook in the corner. But he played king h1, so now f4 is a proper threat. I played g5, which we talked about it after the game. I think g5 might have given him a bit much with this f5 hold, but that's kind of why I put my queen here as well, so that it can support an f5 pawn push in the future. Although we'll see that I was too slow with this move and didn't manage to execute it, because after the rook comes to e1, I played this horrible move, f6, without thinking too much. By the way, my opponent's been thinking quite a lot here. I've been blitzing my moves, which I think is a bit poor time management from me. I should have definitely taken a bit longer here, and I would have seen my opponent's idea. He really only has one plan here, which is move the queen out of the way, plant a rook on f5, and then make his pawn break work. I mean, it's so obvious when you see it get played on the board. If I'd seen that, I would have played h6 and then probably broken up with f5 fairly quickly. Or maybe some improvements first, like here, and then after he tries to invade on f5 square, I can play f5 at the last second. But what's important is that I've played h6 to protect my g-pawn, whereas how I did it in the game, I played f6, which preemptively protects the g-pawn, but then the f-pawn is the pawn I want to push forward, right? So I'm kind of tripping over myself a little here. He plays queen d2, and now I play b6, just cementing my pawn. I can bring my rook into the game. By the way, I think this was the last straw. Maybe I could have still played h6 here, and something like b6, rook f3, then f5. It's a lot worse of a version, but still better than what I got in the game. And actually, yeah, this position looks pretty loose. It looks pretty dodgy, given that the rook can go here, the queen can go here and pressure my pawn, but I'd much rather just have this one weakness that I can kind of hold together than what I got in the game, which was complete paralysis. It was pretty nasty. I brought my rook into here, which was the final straw. I had some weird tactical ideas. I wanted to play my queen here, play c4, try and make some move work, but this is just hope chess, honestly. This is not addressing my opponent's plan. He plays rook f3, I play h6, because I finally see, I'm in huge trouble, and he just plants the rook. And this is now the stage of the game where I am being raked over the hot coals, I am being abused, and I am not feeling happy about my position. This is just pure misery for the black pieces. Like, I can't move anything. All my pawns are fixed. I have no way to make progress. And the only thing I can do is try to defend against every single one of my opponent's threats and make his life as hard as possible. So here was a big mindset change for me. Previously, I thought this game's pretty much a wrap. I think it looks like a straightforwardish, drawish position, and I'm not too concerned. But from here on out, I had just gone pure desperation mode and was looking to make my opponent's life as annoying as possible. So I start being annoying with the move queen e6. Now I'm threatening a pawn c4 here, so he cannot play his g3 plan, because I would break with c4, And all of a sudden, now black's actually doing pretty good. I've got queen e4 check threats, so there's no f pawn push, because there's actually queen e4 check, which is a very, very funny move, because the rook is under attack. You cannot even decline it, and after you accept it, I will take back the queen. And after this capture over here, I'll be able to capture. You cannot capture. Well, you can capture, but then I just put my king on f7, and I'll try to bring over the boys and go for a second-rank checkmate piggy up style. So he didn't want to go for this, obviously. He saw my threat, which is kind of all I've got to offer, these little cheeky one-move threats which stop him from getting his plan. So he plays queen c3, gets the queen out of trouble. I play queen e8. And the point of queen e8 is that now I'm going to meet g3 with a little tickle on the h5 square. So I'm just swerving around, being annoying, being a pain, and I play queen h5, attacking this pawn over here, which does threatens a pawn, but he walks up and defends it. And I play queen g6 here, another cheeky threat, because now he cannot play this because the pawn is pinned. So as you can see, I'm trying to stop all his ideas. I'm just trying to be a nuisance. I'm trying to be a pain because I can't do a whole lot else. And I've basically got two options in this position. I either keel over and die, or I use all of my time to try and find these little resources that keep me in the game. But he goes king h2, I play queen h5 again. And now I play queen h5 again because f4 is not quite possible because I play queen e2. And once again, I would be close to winning the game here. Maybe not quite, but this looks pretty sketchy. Given that my rook would be coming into the game, I think it's actually just dead lost. So my opponent doesn't go for this. He doesn't play early. He's still super patient. Really, really good play from my opponent here. He plays f3, and now there's no more, queen e2. He's going to bring his queen back over to the king side, and I'm essentially staring down my death in the face. So my tricks have kind of run dry. He didn't fall for any of the cheapos, and the time has come for stage 2 of the defensive plan, which is brace for impact. The wave is coming. I am the ship. I'm already full of holes, and the best I can do is hold on tight and await the flood. So I play rook d4. The point is now his f4 pawn push is slightly diminished in power, once again because there's queen e2. But also I'm just blocking the queen off any pressure on this side in the future. So he plays rook f2 now. f4 is becoming more of a threat, but I'm still just bracing for impact here. If he executes his f pawn push, then I think I can kind of just hold on. That was my plan, something like rook e6. And I'm still just saying, come at me basically. You can try and break me open. I'll just capture back this way. My queen protects this f7 square, and I would be absolutely thrilled if I could get this as a position. So he wouldn't go for that. And at the same time, I'm kind of ready to bring my rook back around, maybe bring this rook back around. The queen, once again, stopped from attacking this pawn, and I was going to try to hold this position, even though it looks very unpleasant. But he just keeps massaging. He plays queen e1 here. Nice move. Bring the queen back into the attack, and he's going to set up a big triple stack with his f-pawn break. So I play rook d6, still just waiting, bracing for the impact. Now I have extra support on this f-pawn potentially. And he decides to break with f4. Here comes the big moment, f4. This is the break which white had been going for this whole game. And I'm just holding on for dear life. I go queen g6. Because he cannot still quite take this one, I will take with the rook here. And if we could get some trade like this, once again, this is the absolute dream, and this would be a dead drawn endgame because there is no breakthrough. My pawns are holding everything together, even though they cannot move. So obviously that's the dream. He says no. He just triple barrels up on the f-file. I decide at this point, maybe I have to do a little something. I'm going to make a capture. He captures with his pawn, and I've got these 3 pawns around my king. If I can hold them together, maybe I'm okay. I play rook e7, plays queen g1, rook d6. Once again, I'm just waiting around, bracing for impact here, getting ready to try and meet this capture and prevent his f5 pawn push. That's why I put the rook here, because after takes, he can no longer play this e5 pawn push because I would take it. So I'm just waiting around. I play queen h5. And in the moment, by the way, back here when I played rook e6, I was very nervous that he was going to play rook c5. But I had this cheeky move, rook takes on e4 planned out. The whole idea here is that this would just be a winning ending. I think. Or maybe it's not so clear, actually. Maybe it's not so clear, but I thought this endgame would be much better for white. And but my idea that I had here was rook takes on e4, and after takes on e4 takes, this is no longer particularly impressive for white. So I was hoping he would get a bit, a bit ambitious here. Maybe he would go tactical so that finally I can unravel a little bit, but he just keeps the tension, queen g3, and I am still very uncomfortable here. Take a fairly long think before playing queen h5, and once again, I'm basically just waiting with queen h5. I'm trying to stop his idea of pushing the h-pawn forward, because let's say I played a nothing move, then h4 could be quite devastating, as he's simply looking to enter this terrible, terrible endgame, where I am simply dead lost, I think. Something like this, and my pawns are dropping. This looks completely terrible position for black. So I wanted to stop his h4 move. I played queen h5. He took, I took, and played queen b8. And I was very, very happy for him to play queen b8 because I had a little tricky idea, that I saw from afar. And it's, I'm quite proud of it. I think it's my most creative idea that I've had all year, and especially from such a grim defensive position that's not really my style. I was quite happy to come up with this, where he played queen b8, I played queen h4, tickling his rook. My point now is that if you decide to take on b6, I will play g4, and it looks quite risky. That's not the big idea, that's not the crazy idea that I'm proud of. But after he plays his rook to g2, which I give a mistake, Engine actually, I think, finds some other move. No, Engine does prefer my move, which is rook f3, which I thought was just a clear win, because on g4, rook g3, I can't really do a whole lot here. And I was pretty screwed in this position as far as I can see. I didn't really have a good plan, because my queen h5 trickiness that I came up with later, as you'll see, would not have worked in this position. Like queen h5, he takes on b6, and I don't have the tempo on the rook to play queen e8, followed by my tricky plan. So if he found this rook 5f3 plan, I think he would have won pretty cleanly, but he played rook g2, which gives me just enough hope. After rook e5, he moves his rook back, and I play queen h5. And at this point, I was like, hold on, I might be holding, I might even be better than holding here. I was getting extremely excited, because after he moves his rook here and I play queen e8, he cannot decline. He can either trade queens, which wouldn't give a good position, like this, and I'm just doing fine, like h4, I just play rook h8 and there's nothing. So he cannot really take the queen, and if he tries to decline it with rook d6, then I just repeat the position like this, and we would get to the same point in the game where he has to capture on b6. So you'll see in the game, after this move, he just captured on b6. That would have been a direct transposition from the other line. And I play queen a8. I haven't given this an exclamation mark, but I'm going to give it one now. It's a really cool move. And the weird thing is, somehow in my absolutely atrocious pawn structure on the queen side, his queen is now trapped. Like, what the hell's going on here? The queen is trapped amid a bunch of pawns. It's wandered deep into the forest, and it's just stuck. And at this point, I thought, okay, maybe he can try and play, like, I don't know, some h4 move. I'll play king g6. If he takes it, I'll take with the pawn. And somehow, somewhere, his queen is stuck in the corner, and I'm going to use my rook and my queen to come in with a checkmating attack on his king. It's completely absurd how the turns have tabled in this final position here. But we go back here. Queen a8 gets played. He starts getting a little bit stressed. He's like, what the hell? How on earth did this happen? Like, I've wandered my queen in, and I looked like I was just crushing the whole game. He has to lash out with this d4 move, but that finally allows me to liberate my pawn structure, liberate my position. Even though I'm a pawn down, I'm feeling better than ever because he has this big weakness over here. And my king is somehow kind of safe behind the 2 pawns. So he takes back with the queen, and finally, I am liberated. The game has become a tactical mess, and I'm feeling back in my element again, rather than just getting strangled by this guy in a horrible position. Unfortunately, I missed this beautiful move c5, and initially I thought that this move rook takes on g5 was completely winning for him. because it's a cool sacrifice. They give up the rook, and my rook is pinned here, so I cannot capture it. And if I play king f6 to try and hold on to the rook, then I thought he had rook f5, but eventually I managed to see that, oh wait, I'm just having a complete blip, and this pawn is still attacking the queen, so if I play something like, I don't know, king g6, and he takes my rook, I can just take his queen, and if he tries to play queen g1, then I have just king, so not king there, king h7, I guess, to not allow this check over here, and somehow I'm actually kind of safe because the queen has no follow-up checks, and there's no checkmate over here because the rook has a defense on the 5th rank. So I did see this line. However, I rejected c5 because I thought that after queen c3, I'm unnecessarily weakening my a5 pawn. And I thought that after this capture, he's just going to take over here, and I completely misevaluated this position as better for white, because I was like, white has outside pass pawn. But turns out I get good counterplay here with queen f4 and rook e3. White is holding after this position, according to the engine, but queen c7, and supposedly black is better. I mean, this is still kind of mysterious to me, to be honest. I don't fully understand it. Yeah, I really don't get it that much, to be honest. I don't know why exactly black is better. Engine gives a5 and c4. I guess the point is that these pawns are eventually going to drop off the board like this. And apparently, okay, I can just go hunt them down, and we're going to get some rook endgame where I have a 2 versus 1, which would be a draw, but maybe black has some chances. So yeah, I definitely missed that, misevaluated that, but still not too upset with my rejection of pawn c5. I played queen b8, which was another way to defend against this threat, because now I have a check counter attack like this, so that solves the threat. And he has to play king h1. And then I play queen h8, which once again defends against this tactic like this, because I can just play king f7 and the queen from the corner protects the rook. So he goes queen c3, I play queen h5, improving my queen a little bit, trying to tickle him over here as well. And I decide to protect my pawn now. He could have taken the pawn here. He could have taken the pawn, but then I would have taken the pawn here, and all of a sudden he's getting in some hot water with all of my pieces potentially invading the back rank, and he could slip up and get mated. So definitely he was a little bit scared of that. I played rook e6. He went here, I played here, and finally, I'm winning back my pawn after quite a long time. He trades off the queens because his king is actually super weak. And plays king g2, I play king g6, just improving my king a little bit. King g3, unfortunately I'm getting super low on time at this point. I play c5, my idea is I want to play c4 and trade it. And he plays rook d2, offers a draw, and I accepted. Now, I thought, during the game, I thought if I wanted to play on, I would play c4. And I expected he would play something like this, something like takes, and start giving me, and maybe I could go after his pawns or something like rook b4, but it didn't seem very clear to me. I wasn't exactly sure what I was doing. I thought maybe he can start harassing this pawn on a5. Like if I go here, maybe he goes rook a6, and then I come under a little bit of pressure. Like rook here, takes here, and rook b5 could be quite a nasty way for me to lose, for example. So I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to continue this ending. I was also exhausted, like I said. But Engine says that after f5, I'm actually slightly better, because I'm going to go f4 and then bring my rook in the back. Although at the same time, it's such a minor advantage. It's like minus 0.5, minus 0.6. I mean, yeah, the Engine would beat anyone from this position with black probably, but definitely not me while I was feeling so tired and was already seeing ways that I could lose the game somehow from this position. So I accepted the draw. I maintain first place, and it's now a joint first place going into the final. Only 2 of us are on 4 out of 5, and it's going to be me versus this other 2100 who is on a really good score. Although admittedly, he had quite an easy path. He was mostly just farming 2000s because he lost a game early on, the classic Swiss Gambit style, and I was going to be playing him for the last round first place trophy. So if you did enjoy this video and you enjoy my style of talking, teaching, coaching, whatever, then do check out the description, and I do offer some one-to-one coaching. So if you would be interested in that, then definitely send me an email. I only have a couple places left, so get in while you can. But if you are watching this as an older video, then do still send me an email. I might be able to put you on a waiting list or something. And if I'm really interested and you've got some good story to tell me or something, I don't know, then I'm sure I'll try and find some time to get you a lesson. But other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.